Thanks for coming, everybody. The Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Oldenburg.
Here.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Here. Alderwoman Keys. Here. Alderwoman Velasquez. Present. Alderwoman Sanye. Present. Alderman Aldred. Present. Chair Narayan.
Here.
7 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, June 29th, 2023. Second. All right, hearing a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye. Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye. Aye.
Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Aye. Alderwoman Sanye. Aye. Alderman Aldred.
Aye.
Chair Narayan.
Aye.
We have 7 aye votes.
All right, with that, we've sustained the motion and approved the minutes. At this time, we're going to take up Board Bill 132. Alderman Oldenburg, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Public Safety Committee. I am happy to be introducing Board Bill 132, but I first do want to thank all the young men and women who are here to watch local government. Everybody, hello. Thanks for being here. This is your city in action, doing its business. Thanks for coming. Today, I am pleased to introduce Board Bill 132, which is a plainly put board bill that accepts a grant that the St. Louis Police Department wrote to the Department of Justice and received a sum of $685,000 so that we can improve communication equipment and 911 communications software so that this allows dispatchers to relay information at a much faster rate. I've been told to the layman of software, this is akin to going from Windows 9 to Windows 10. Much more efficiency associated with the userness of the information. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would certainly look for a favorable consideration and a vote out of this on Board Bill 132.
Thank you for that, Alderman. Madam Clerk, would you please add me as a sponsor to this Board Bill to 132?
Noted.
Embank.
And I hear a motion to embank it. Is there a second? All right. Everyone in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The ayes have it. So, Madam Clerk, if you could please indicate that every member of this committee wants to have their name on this bill. And at this point, I'll open it up for any questions. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
No questions. Who doesn't love a good grant?
That's right. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Vice Chair Aldridge.
No questions.
All right, and I don't have any questions. Seems like this is a good bill and hopefully gets our 911 call centers more of the resources that they need. And at this point, I will make a motion that we pass Board Bill number 132 out of committee with a... All right, there's been a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I'm sorry. Who was the? I saw the second was Sanye.
I made the motion. Sanye seconded.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Aye. Alderwoman Sanye. Aye. Alderman Aldred.
Aye.
Chair Narayan.
Aye.
We have 7 aye votes.
With that, we've sustained the motion, and Board Bill 132 comes out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Thank you. At this point, we will take up Board Bill 93. And before we, go ahead, but just before we proceed on this, I have been asked by the administration to note that at the request of the sponsor, we've broken this meeting, we've broken the hearings up into 2 hearings on this. So that's why there's no one here from the administration to talk on this today. It's not that they do not want to speak to this. They will be here next week at our regularly scheduled time. And with that, Alderman, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today, I present to you Board Bill 93. But before I present Board Bill 93, I have a committee sub that I would like to bring in front of the body.
I guess just make a motion to do so. And, there's a motion. Is there a second? All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Oldenburg. Aye. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Aye. Alderwoman Sanier. Aye. Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
Chair Narayan.
Aye.
We have 7 aye votes.
All right. With that, we now have Board Bill 93 committee substitute in front of us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Before I talk about some of the changes, I'm going to kind of talk about like how we got here. Over the last, I would say, few months, even before I got here, it came to the attention of this board. I know we had the former commissioner, Mr. Brumman, come, some members of the mayoral administration come to talk about some things that was happening that pertain to the Detention Facility Oversight Committee, which was originally set up from Alderman Vaccaro, set up the Detention Oversight Committee, which was an ordinance which was 71430. And then last session, under the leadership of Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, we set up the Civilian Oversight Board, which entailed COB as well as putting DFOB under that board, under that ordinance. Since that ordinance has been in place, it is really good that we had it. I know that everyone here on this committee cares about transparency and oversight. The mayor signed it. It has been a big push for a long time, way before I was even an activist. I know we have the legendary Mama Jamala in the room. These conversations have been going on for a very long time of how do we have oversight in policing, but also in our jail system. But today I'm here to talk about the jail part of the civilian oversight. And as we've been hearing from members that sit on the DFOB and also members who serve under the mayor's administration, under Board Bill 71647 that was set up, the goal of what we're trying to do is just clear up a lot of things that was spelled out, but putting some clear verbiage and language in there so that board members who are volunteers on the Detention Facility Oversight Board don't feel like that a goalpost is being moved or feel like that they are being stalled in the work that they're doing, as well as being able to do the necessary work that they need to do. So in the committee sub, what we managed to do with trying to clean up some of the language in the detention facility oversight part of the bill is the first thing we're doing is we will be repealing ordinance number 71430. So that was Alderman Vaccaro's original bill that set up the detention facility oversight. So that was the board bill that said that there will be a detention facility oversight board that can go into the jails to be able to investigate when they feel things are going on. And the reason that we're repealing 71430 and putting it under 71647 is that we want to make it clear. Right now, when you look at both of the ordinance, they both reference detention facility oversight, and they also reference, well, Vaccaro's reference detention facility oversight, and then in the current language, it referenced civilian oversight and detention facility oversight. So just to make sure that people aren't looking in two locations when they're trying to get information on what the role is of the detention facility oversight, we're repealing Vaccaro's, former Alderman Vaccaro bill and putting it under 71647, which is Alderwoman Clark Hubbard's bill. And with repealing that, we are keeping all the same language. A lot of the language that was Vaccaro's is also in Alderwoman Clark Hubbard's, but we also make sure that the key component of Vaccaro's bill was to uphold the DFOB. And also, as we repeal that and put that in the new language, we are clarifying the exact work of what civilian oversight investigators' scope of the role is and what the scope of DFOB members' role is. It is mentioned in the ordinance in 71647, but it's not clear of what the role of the investigators are. Their role is to be able to go into the jails, to be able to investigate if there's a complaint happen, and then to be able to bring that information back to DFOB members. So we made it very clear of what scope of each member's roles are. DFOB members can also go in the jails, but they can go in with the support of an investigator. In Section 8, what we did is we outlined, like I say, the scope of work that would be in the committee substitute. A big thing that we also did is we cleared up the member training. So in the old language, it didn't necessarily specify that investigators also had to get trained. Even though they were getting trained, we made sure that investigators are getting trained. And we put very clearly some parameters in how much training needs to happen for DFOB members. There's been several complaints for the last few months that DFOB members don't know the timeline of how much the training is. So in the new language, and we work with the mayor's office on this, is each DFOB member will get 25 hours of training necessary for them to actually proceed to go into the jail. There's a section in the bill that talks about ongoing training. So if they need to do ongoing training or necessary training, that is that's possible to do, but they shouldn't be stonewalled from being able to get access to be able to do their job if they complete the actual trainings necessary. And with working with Nicole from the mayor's office, we actually lined out what those trainings are. In the original legislation, it was lined out, but it wasn't as clear on what those were. So we made it very clear on what those trainings are that they need to complete, with the maximum of 25 hours that they need to complete it. The training must start when a member is appointed to the board 10 days from them being appointed, and they have 6 months to be able to complete that training. Compared to right now, the training has kind of been going on for almost over a year. Something we also cleaned up and clarified was in Section 8 for special counsel. Special counsel is in both pieces of legislation, but we took it a step further by saying that if DFOB members feel that there's a conflict of interest or they need to get special counsel, that they can reach out to the city councilor and request that. And then within 30 days, the city councilor can pick from a list of 10 individuals to be able to provide to the DFOB members DFOB members to be able to pick from those 10 lists of individuals if they need special counsel. After 30 days, if the city councilor does not pick from a list, then the DFOB members can then go out and get special counsel on their own. The last part that is also a cleanup of this language is the non-interference, which was also currently part of the bill. But we added a line in there that says if there is a current investigation going on in the jails, that at least the director or somebody from public safety must still communicate with DFOB members and investigators to let them know exactly what is going on. Those are a lot of the big changes, and like I say, majority of the changes in the legislation that we're trying to accomplish is to clean it up, because there are some areas with both of these ordinance overlapping, a little bit of gray, and I don't think that was not intentional at all, but we know sometimes with legislation, we have to come back and look over and make sure it works out. And as we've looked over it, and DFOB members have called out some issues, we've been able to understand that it's some things that was in the previous ordinance that wasn't spelled out. So we're just trying to make it very clear to make sure that DFOB members can get access to be able to do, as these are volunteers, these are just citizens who signed up to do this because they believe in this work. that they are not being held back because the ordinance isn't clear. At the same time, having a clear ordinance so that the administration, who I believe cares about transparency, can be able to rely back on a more clear ordinance that hopefully with repealing one bill and amending another bill with very defined definitions, which we also did in this ordinance. We defined a lot of definitions, such as like scope of work. It was not defined. What the roles are of each individuals is now defined so that you can go directly to these sections and members and investigators can exactly know how to be able to move forward if there is an obstacle between them or maybe the administration. I think I covered it all. And with that, I will open up for questions from the committee.
All right. Thank you for that. And do you have anyone here that you wanted to speak on behalf of any of this?
So today, like you said, Mr. Chair, I invited DF to come in front and to speak on their experience and on the legislation if it's things that we need to craft or change. If they've been members on the board, next week we will have the mayor's administration. So if you want to have, I think there's also other members that either speak in support or against, but I do know we have DFOB members here to speak.
All right. And I guess I'll just kind of ask the committee, would you rather ask questions now or would you rather, please proceed.
Just for the people at home, would you please explain the acronyms for COB and DFOB? So you started talking about them, but you didn't say exactly what those acronyms are. And so we just want to make sure that people at home are clear.
I appreciate that. You know,
Thank you.
sometimes we get caught in our jargon, like, just go to CDA, and people are like, what is CDA? So COB, I'm gonna start with DFOB. So DFOB is a Detention Facility Oversight Board. And like I say, that was set up for individuals to, that was a board that the alder members get members that we appoint to the board as well as the mayor. That was set up under former Alderman Vaccaro's amendment to set up DFOB, Detention Facility Oversight. And then under Ordinance 71647, under Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, we set up the Civilian Oversight Board, as well as we created a line item kind of under public safety where that board has funding and staff, but we also put DFOB, which is a Detention Facility Oversight. So COB is more investigating, an independent board that can investigate if there's complaints against policing. And then Detention Facility Oversight is a board that does investigation within our CJC, which is the Justice Center across the street.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions for the sponsor? If not, we will move to the speakers. All right. Pam Walker. Ms. Walker, if you could please swear in. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Well, you have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
Sometimes painfully, so I tell the truth. First, I want to thank my alderman, Alderman Aldridge, who is always doing the work of the people. He's my alderman. Very proud of his career and what he's doing for the city now. I am a member of the Detention Facilities Oversight Board. I own a public health and health consulting firm, and I was St. Louis City Health Director for about 10 years. I think most of you probably know me from that role. Alderman Aldridge explained and touched on the issues I think that have frustrated us the most as committee members. And I have not seen the language exactly, but I know he hears us and I know you hear us, and I trust you all to craft something that's clear and that we can move forward without the frustration and the barriers that have kept us from doing what the mandate of the law is for us to do, and that's oversight. We were all officially appointed in June of '22, and we have yet to conduct an investigation. Two of the big areas have been training, which We were supposed to meet 6 times a year. We've been meeting 2 or 3 Mondays a month now for months to try to get the training done. Most of us, there's 1 or 2 people that have different opinions, of course, but most of us understand and want to get the training done. 3 of us have only 1 8-hour course left. I'm included that. Another one has 1 1-hour course that she missed. Let's see, so 4 of us have only 1 course. 1 person has 2, and another person has 3. Our quorum is 5, so we're very close to getting a quorum so we can move forward. The training has been hard to access. It was mandated on us, which the original bill didn't do. The original bill said that the Detention Facilities Oversight Board would, in cooperation with the Oversight Division, come up with our own training in these broad categories. It turned into, you have to have 2 8-hour training days to get into the jail, and then you have to have all these other trainings. We're like, what are they? The city was like, we don't know. And we've gone back and forth. And honestly, some of them are interesting training. I really enjoyed the collective bargaining training. Wish I would have had it as a health director. However, I don't think it's relevant to an oversight board. The internal affairs, how that operates for the police department was very informative, but our board is corrections. We're not going to look at the police department at all. So making sure as you do this, that the training you mandate upon us is relevant to what we're going to be doing would be really helpful. The other is the policies and procedures. They are now saying that we aren't abiding by the law because we didn't do policies and procedures. I'm going to give you some dates here. We actually began the policies and procedures process in August of 22. We were fully formed in June. We circulated the policies and procedures in August of 22. The commissioner at the time brought them back to us in October after he said he shared them with the pertinent stakeholders within the city, and we passed them. So we've had policies and police procedures in place since October 22. We were told 7 months later in May that they were not, they didn't meet the requirements of the law for whatever reason. I don't know if the law was amended, judge's ruling, whatever. But they've had them since August of 2022. And it's my understanding they're still sitting in the city councilor's office. Once we get done with training, I am going to expect access to the jail, and I'm going to expect access to the investigations. And they really need to get the policies and procedures back to us instead of using that as an excuse for excuse number 2. The third thing he talked about is we can't interfere in ongoing investigations by the police department, criminal investigations and such. I think what he's proposed is completely reasonable. We don't want to interfere in that. We don't want to conduct 2 investigations if they're not necessary. But we're getting complaints. We're hearing from the public. Our phones are ringing. We need to at least know what investigations are occurring. I have no idea of the 10 deaths, which ones are under investigations, which ones have been investigations, which ones nothing was done on. We at least need a monthly briefing on what is happening with those kinds of investigations. Let's see. Oh, the other one is, you will hear, is we don't have any authority over operations. The original bill mentions very clearly that we can review and make recommendations on operations, policies, and procedures, and maintenance and conditions of the facility. It mentions operations 3 times, and it's very clear that within our investigations, part of our investigations is to look at the operations, policies, and procedures, and maintenance and see how they contributed to whatever we're investigating. Please don't change that because it's very clear and somebody in the administration just needs that part of the bill. And 4 of our members have expired terms. And we don't know what that means if they replace all of them as far as getting the training done. But I think you're addressing that with the by clarifying the training. The other aspect of training is we really need to be able to do it online and, you know, maybe answer 3 questions or something that we actually took it. Now, Nicole has assured me she's working with Cindy Reardon, who I think walks on water and can do anything, to try to create a link so that we can go to that link and take the training online. I'm on a national board for accrediting colleges and universities in public health, and we do all our training online because that's just what you have to do in a modern world with working people. Everybody on this board is a volunteer, but everybody works full-time. So having to do the training at board meetings and not being able to do it online is a barrier. And I'm just, you know, I'm sorry that the administration has chosen to deflect and vilify a group of volunteers that they appointed to a board they created rather than resolve some of these issues so that we can move forward. We don't have any agendas. I didn't come to this board with any agenda other than to do oversight and contribute my expertise in the public health and health area. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you. Next is Jamala Rogers.
Sorry.
Ms. Rogers, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
I most certainly do.
All right, please proceed.
Yes, my name is Jamala Rogers. I am a co-chair of the Coalition Against Police Crimes and Repression. In fact, I am a founding member. As of this year, we are celebrating our 40th anniversary. So that's how long I've been living, breathing this particular area of work. So what that means, Alderwoman Saulnier, is that we were doing this before you were born. But I'm hoping that it doesn't take 40 more years for us to be able to fine-tune the process that we have been working to really create and make sure materializes. So when I signed in, I didn't sign in on the support because I don't know what the final board bill is going to be. Alderman Aldridge attempted to give me a fast forward kind of process, but I'm still processing it. And I think what I heard is going to resolve some of the outstanding issues. I don't know. Next week, I guess, we'll determine that. So I'm not here to talk about the merits of the bill, but I really do want to address the spirit of any of the legislation that the Coalition Against Police Crimes and Repression has been behind, has helped to formulate, and that's always been about accountability, transparency, and citizen involvement. So one thing that troubles me about what I've seen, and it's been, as most people know, sort of open warfare between the DFOB and the administration, is that these particular advisory boards were set up not to be adversarial, but to complement the administration and the duties of the administration, whoever that might be. And right now, I think we might agree that what's going on in the jails definitely needs some help. And that's what the DFOB is about. So it's not an adversary role, which I think it's been set up like that. These are citizens who didn't have to step forward because it's a lot of work, it's unpaid work. So I'm hoping that in the spirit of the bill, that we always fall on the side of citizen participation. Because what we've seen is not just bad optics, it's anti-democratic. And I think to the point of like involving as many citizens as we can is what we really need to be about. The second thing I want to just address is there is still unclarity around the terms for the Citizen Oversight Board. What happened with the signing of the bill, there was a court injunction. That injunction took some months. When it was finally lifted, then we said, okay, now what is the new process? Because the ordinance was very clear. 30 days from this, 60 days from that, 90 days from that. No one seemed to be able to answer that question. So we had people ready to be appointed by their alderperson to be considered for the COB, but nobody could tell us when the deadline is, and then from there, when does the process start, where there's going to be input from you all, and then ultimately the mayor gets to sign off on those folks. So there's some gaps here, and you got a community of folks who are involved with this that's willing to help figure it out with you. So just see us as a resource. So I thank you for the opportunity today, and hopefully we'll see democracy in action going forward.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Next up, we have Wolf Smith. All right. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
I do.
All right. Please proceed.
Awesome. Thank you, committee, for having me and letting me speak. My name is Wolf Smith. I'm with the Conflict Resolution Center of St. Louis. We are St. Louis City's Community Mediation Center. We utilize a combination of professional and community volunteer mediators in order to help St. Louisans resolve disputes peacefully. We were built into the 2014 bill and then kind of like reauthorized in a weird way in a 2017 bill. So I'm not necessarily here to do much other than to just make sure that we're not forgotten as part of the process. I am a lawyer, but I got confused on the language in terms of whether or not the paragraph about mediation being an allowable part of the process stays in the new legislation. So I just want to make sure that if folks are submitting complaints to the Civilian Oversight Board, that they can choose mediation, not mandatory, always voluntary, but they can choose mediation as one option to help them resolve their complaint and hopefully get justice that feels meaningful to them. Right now, we're not able to do complaints that are brought to DFOB, but when we gave a presentation to the DFOB earlier this year, we heard interest from them about potentially offering mediation as an option for those complaints as well. And so I would like you to consider, as you're moving forward, potentially adding in mediation as one voluntary remedy that folks can choose as part of the complaint process. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for that testimony. Next up, we have the Reverend Gray. How are you this afternoon, Reverend? And do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is true to the best of your ability?
Yes, I do.
All right. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard for in the beginning, it was her support and cooperation and guidance that got us to the point where we even envisioned having a DFOB. So we want to thank you again very much for your support. We remember the pictures that we took downstairs with you, and so those are still good pictures. Thank you very much for your work. And we want to applaud the Alder people who are working to correct some things that we were not able to see in the beginning. Without a doubt, there are some things that have happened that we have believed that have been deliberate and that have caused the work of the DFOB to be stalled. We honestly believe that. But we also believe that people like Alderwoman Clark Hubbard and others worked with good intentions to get us to this point. And the current Alder people who are moving the amendments are trying to take us another step further. I currently serve as the chair of the DFOB. It's a position that I took reluctantly. To be honest, I don't have a problem being on it, but I did not want to be the target. And it seems as though, as Ms. Walker has said, the DFOB as a board and the DFOB membership individually have been vilified over the last few months as it relates to what we believe we should be doing to address the concerns. To be very clear, Chairperson, we are not an independent body. I mean, the word independent should be stricken from all of this ordinance, because we have not been, nor are we now, and even with any recommendations that anybody has put forward so far, it does not make us, allow us, cause us to be independent, period. We're not. So I wanted to make that clear. I also want to make it clear that our board members have been governed primarily by two things: the ordinance, which some of us had some input in, and a lot of us did not. We've been governed by that, but we've also been governed by the Constitution. We've been reminded and remind ourselves that people in the Justice Center, most of them have not been to trial. They've not been adjudicated. They are innocent until proven guilty, and we stand on that. But the reality is that we understand that there are those who have been found guilty of a charge, who were there to serve a day up to a year. But regardless of that, every single person over there, be they detainees, correctional officers, support staff, administrative staff, all of that is sacred life. And our concern has always been for everyone who steps foot in that building, who works there, resides there, whatever. And that has always been the case. So when we hear the Commissioner of Corrections say that no one asked about correction officers, that is just so far from the truth, it's not even funny. We just wanted to make that clear. One of the things that we would recommend, in addition to supporting what Alderperson Aldridge has submitted, that we want to remove any and all requirements that complaints be shared with the Commission of Corrections. At the beginning of any of the process whereby DFOB staff receives the complaints, we should not be required to submit those complaints to the Commission of Corrections. Why? Retaliation, concern of retaliation. The tablets that they have, half of them don't work anyway. But whatever complaints the staff finally gets, they should be able to go through the process, work through the process, make a recommendation, and then share the findings and the recommendations to the Commission of Corrections, not at the beginning. Because the belief is that if you share those complaints at the beginning of the process of investigation, minds can change. Things can change by the time investigators have an opportunity to do due diligence. And so we want to make sure that as this committee continues to look at the amendments that have been proposed and other amendments, that you would take under consideration to remove any and all requirements that complaints be shared with the Commission of Corrections at the beginning of the process. Number three, the other one, the city councilor. Chairperson, the bill as we now have it has made it very clear all roads to any destination leads by way of the city councilor's office throughout the ordinance. And for the most part, with the exception of the amendment that the alderperson has made, all roads still lead through the city councilor's office. We understand very clearly, Chairperson, that the concern that alder people have, that the city attorney has, that the mayor had, litigation. If the DFOB or in this regard and any investigation done by the staff, if it happens to shake off injustice and shake off unfairness or some problem, would that investigation result in litigation? We understand that that's the fear. We're not stupid. We get it. But that's not why we were asked to do this job. Our job is not to be afraid of whether or not there'll be litigation at the end of investigation. That's not even the job of alder people. Now, that may be the job of the city attorney. We get it. But at the same time, that's what poses the conflict of interest. That our jobs are different. Our mandates are different. And so, in addition to what Alderperson Aldridge has submitted as far as the 30 days, the city council will give us a list of names, probably from her same law firm that she worked in, the list of names, and if she doesn't, then at the end of 30 days, we can go out. But there's still no recourse for conflict of interest. And so we would recommend that when there is a clear conflict of interest as it relates to interpretation, for example, what does collaboration mean? What does that mean? What does interference mean? Who determines that? Is it the city councilor? So if the city council is going to determine what collaboration means, what interference means, or what DFOB means, that's a conflict. So who resolves that? Right now, there's absolutely nothing in the ordinance to resolve it. So we would submit that when we have a conflict as it relates to the ordinance and interpretation, and we reach an impasse, that we would recommend that either the state attorney general and or the bar disciplinary committee become involved. There's got to be a way to resolve conflict. The city attorney cannot have the last word when it comes to justice. I'm almost finished, and thank you for your time. I saw you looking at you. We would also submit that the recommendation be made, amendment be made to remove the Director of Public Safety as the representative between the administration and the DFOB. Again, conflict of interest. If our job is to provide oversight to this facility, which the Director of Public Safety is responsible for, then how can you not expect there to be a conflict of interest? When every step of the way, the director has been very clear with every communication that we've had, blindly almost, my words, against anything we've said regarding the Commissioner of Corrections, blindly. No discussion, no gray area, no middle ground, no nothing. But that's not the only reason. The biggest reason is that the Director of Public Safety is responsible for the center. So, once again, we would submit that the point of contact for the appointing authority would be the Director of Operations, who reports to the mayor. The two appointing authorities for DFOB are the Committee for Public Safety, because you appoint 3 people, and the mayor's office, because the mayor appoints 6 people. You are the appointing authority with the mayor. And so at the very least, find somebody from within the board of alderpersons. It could be you, chairperson. But it's a conflict of interest because we are supposed to collaborate with the Director of Public Safety. We're supposed to advise the Director of Public Safety, and the staff that work with DFOB, that supports DFOB, also has to is responsible and report to the Director of Public Safety. There are just too many conflicts that could be resolved by this committee. And then finally, I think it is finally, maybe that was the finally. I mentioned the support staff. Just very clearly, we get letters from the city attorney that tells us that we have board members who are not eligible to serve on the board. But these are people that you appointed. These are people that the mayor appointed. These are people who were vetted by not you, because some of you weren't here, some of you were. But these are people who were vetted by the Public Safety Committee. They were vetted by the city of St. Louis. They were vetted by the police. They were vetted by the mayor's office. They were vetted by everybody and then placed on this board. And then the city attorney says they shouldn't be on it. I don't understand that, Mr. Chairperson. How the city attorney says you have board members that shouldn't be on it, but they were vetted by you. They were vetted by the city. When you have a city attorney that tells us that we have to respect the fact that the Commissioner for Corrections is a busy person, This is a response that we got from the city attorney, that please don't ask her too many questions because she's busy, because she's understaffed. The understaffed position is what's causing a lot of the problems over there. So if you allow us to do our job, maybe we can help. But you've got lawyers in the city attorney's office telling us not to ask her questions because she's busy. And so that contributes to our frustration. But more than it contributing to our frustration, it contributes to us being able to do what you've asked us to do, what this city has asked us to do. So thank you very much for your time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. I guess with that, does anyone from the committee have any questions for anyone who has spoken today? Alderwoman Keys, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess this question is more for Reverend Gray. So you mentioned that there were persons who were vetted properly, but yet they were ineligible. Do you have some examples of what criteria they gave as the ineligibility for these people that they already said?
Without going too much into attorney-client confidentiality, which seems to be the buzzword stamped on everything we get. Without going into it, my understanding is that if people do business with the jail, it's a conflict of interest. But the problem, Alderwoman, again, is that it's in the interpretation. Is that if you only have one body, the city attorney making that interpretation above and beyond what this committee has vetted. And so that's the issue, that we have two people who have done business. Now, this could be nonprofit, it could be profit. It's not explained. And our problem becomes when we can't get a further explanation without getting 33 pages of case law. And the person that we have to count on to give us an interpretation on our board, who is a wonderful person, it's also part of the city attorney's office. So, and once again, Alderwoman, it's in when we get to the impasse of that interpretation where we disagree with the interpretation, then what do? And so that's the issue there. Now, those two board members are still there. My thinking would have been, Alderwoman, that if the city attorney felt that these people should not be on the board and felt that strongly about it, then the city attorney should have gone back to the appointing authorities of those two people, the mayor and the Public Safety Committee, and said to the mayor and the Public Safety Committee, you've placed two people on the board that are ineligible, but that wasn't done. I'm sorry, I probably gave you more information than you asked
That's
for.
exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
Additionally, I think I heard early on that training could take up to 6 months. To me, that seems like an inordinate amount of time, having been an investigator for the state as well as the federal. In terms of training, that really seems like just too long. And a lot of retention in training is lost when it is spread out. So I don't know if that's a hard timeline or if that can be reduced. And I understand that these are volunteers who are unpaid, who work full-time jobs, but effective training spread out over that length of time, there's going to be a retention issue.
We support what Alderperson Aldridge has presented. He's definitely streamlined it. He's caused the time frame to go down, and so we support that. Our biggest issue with the training, Alderwoman, is that we are being told that we can't even do our work until we complete it. And so you're talking about training, as Secretary Walker has said, we've got people who work, everybody works, and so they're trying to fix the training to fit our our free schedules, and the thing that bothers us probably more than the training being forced on us, a lot of it totally unnecessary. Again, when the 9 board members were vetted, they were asked to come from different areas: legal, nonprofit, medical, ex-correctional officers, ex-offenders. And so we were asked, this board in its wisdom said, let's look for people who bring that experience and expertise with them. And so you had a board that had all of the above, and then you tell it you can't work. So you've looked at the what is, whatever expertise you bring, but that's not enough. I don't have a problem with training. I don't have a problem with the fact that there are some things we need to know as a board, no doubt about it. We have a staff that had to go through training. You're going to tell me that this staff had to go through that same training that we had to go through? And the staff, again, hired by the city, vetted by the city, hired because of their expertise, their experience, their professionalism, their integrity. And you're telling me that they're not allowed to do their job? They still can't get in the building. They're still being denied. This is insane. But I gave a long answer to a short question. Thank you for asking that short.
Thank you so much, sir.
Gave me a little bit more time than the chair gave me.
All right, Alderwoman Velazquez, please proceed.
Thank you. I think my question is more for Ms. Williams, but I'd be in sort of a tangent or double both you and Walker, I'm sorry. You said, I was looking at the committee substitute, and it looks like, I guess, have the topic trainings changed, and you said that you testified that some of the trainings didn't seem relevant. Are the trainings proposed in the committee substitute the same topics there were before? Is there room for, are there specific sort of areas that you object might be a strong word, but that, you think are relevant?
So I don't think Ms. Walker's seen the committee sub. So the trainings, so in the original ordinance, it actually doesn't lay out like exact what those trainings are. And some have been added to the list of trainings that the committee wasn't aware about. So we've talked with Nicole, who is an expert and have been, I think, since this situation, been trying to get committee members, and please, Ms. Walker, you can agree or disagree with trying to get them on a pace to be able to get those trainings completed. So I asked her, knowing that she has years and years of experience around DFOB, or detention facility oversight, national training, let's spell out the trainings, and which she was able to spell those out, which she felt some of those in there can be reduced and don't necessarily need to fit maybe, I'll just say, the detention facility oversight training, which originally was like 16 hours, feels that some of that can actually be reduced and make sure it's just pertained to what the staff needs. But the trainings that are in the new committee sub are the ones that we've worked with Ms. Barton on to ensure that we're covering the right stuff, not necessarily just things that shouldn't be covered, but we also put a section in there that highlights ongoing training. So if they do need ongoing training, maybe on labor laws or whatnot, they can do that, but it's not the meat and the nuts and bolts of what they need to do to be able to do their job, to be able to work with investigators to access the jail.
All that I would ask is that this not become a zero-sum game again, where when this bill passes, we get told, oh, you have to start over again, like on the policies and procedures, that those of us who will be trained probably by the time this bill passes are considered trained, and we can do our job.
And that's why it was important to talk with Ms. Barton to know exactly what trainings they've already done, because we could have just said, or I could have put in there a certain training, and then they would have had to do additional training outside of what they already did. So she provided a list of the trainings that she's training them on and putting into the legislation. Most have completed some of those trainings, but like I think it was Ms. Walker or Rev said, the board has 4 expired terms. I think 1 person has resigned, so 5 members. So if and when public safety, we feel those members or don't, it's good to lay out what training is necessary with the time amount so that it doesn't hold up the current members, but new members can come in and exactly know what they need to get access to the detention facility oversight.
Thank you. I have one more question. I think it's best probably for you, but I know Reverend Gray mentioned the conflict of interest, and I guess there are two questions that are related. Are there cities or there are places where it's working where it's not, they don't have these either built-in conflict of interest, or the way that they report out does not start first with the jail commissioner? And where are those places? So I guess, like, are there places where there's less of a conflict of interest with maybe the city councilor and the head of public safety, which we listed here, and a way to investigate in a more independent way?
I will get that list to you. It's actually some places where when they go for legal counsel, they don't go through the city councilor, and that was a purposeful thing so that you don't get into this place where I think where some of the members now may feel that there's a conflict. There are other cities. Our language, I would say, is a lot stronger than maybe, I know Kansas City has a setup which is not super strong, but in other places, the way that they wrote their oversight language actually has it where if they want legal counsel, they don't even have to go through the city councilor, and they've been having their boards for several years. This was a way that was written. I think that could probably be an ongoing conversation what that looks like, but in both ordinance and language, it was that it goes to the city councilor. But there are other cities that if there's a conflict of interest or they want legal counsel, they're able to do it. Currently, the oversight board in their line item already has funds for professional services, which is legal counsel if they need support on that. That's why this bill has no fiscal note, because it's in there. Only thing is, the way that we're doing it is that they have to go through legal counsel. And what we're trying to do to clear it up is to make sure if they go through legal counsel that it's not stonewalled for them to actually get counsel, because as they've asked for requests, sometimes they haven't been getting a request back. So this puts parameters around actually ensuring that if they ask for a request, because there may be a conflict, if it doesn't meet within that timeline, that they still can get outside legal counsel, outside of our city councilor.
But are there places that you've seen that, like, we could look at, say, that set a good example? I mean, obviously the laws are different, but are there other cities that we should look to, or other
I got a list of
government
them.
that we should?
Thank you to our former clerk, because he actually, as going through all of this, I think the original kind of oversight started not just with him, it started with Antonio, former Alderman French, and then Kennedy, and then Vaccaro got tagged. Multiple people have been working on this, and like Alderwoman, or said Alderwoman, I just promoted her, or maybe not a promotion. Mama Jamala said this has been going on for a long time, and I know he's been a big inspiration to it getting here. So he's brought attention to myself on how this is working in other cities where they don't go through the city councilor. So I will make sure the committee is aware of that, and maybe we can continue to have a conversation or maybe an amendment before it's voted out of this committee.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Alderwoman Keys?
So my question, maybe suggestion, well, the question, first of all, is in terms of additional education or continued ed hours, is there an interval for those? Is it annually, biannually, or is it just whenever a training is available?
So what we laid out for the clear training that is necessary that they need was the 25 hours in 6 months. And with talking with Ms. Barton, figured that 6 months was a good spot to land. I don't think she believed that it would take 6 months to get trained up, but we wanted to put some time frame instead of just saying training. And then I think what we've seen with the current board, it's been ongoing training for over a year now. The ongoing training that we put in the subsection part of the bill is that the board members and the department can work together if they want ongoing training at the discretion of the board members and the director. There's not saying that it has to be an ongoing training annually, it has to be an ongoing training on a monthly basis, but say a topic pops up that maybe they need to be trained on, that they could be trained on that. But the key part of that is even if it's an annual or monthly training, we don't want it where it will disrupt members from still being able to get access because they've completed the necessary training. Again, we're talking about members that will be doing oversight over the jail, which is a little less responsible than members that with COB that is oversight and policing. So a lot of the detention facility oversight operations doesn't change as much. A lot of the conflict of interest sunshine laws that they need to do doesn't train as much, but understanding that times change, you know, maybe COVID come back around and there needs to be some type of training where it could be virtual to do something, right? But we put it in the ongoing training where it can continue to happen, and that's up to board members and also the commissioner or director to figure out what those ongoing trainings are, but not impeding the work of the necessary members that have already completed the required training that we set up in this ordinance that they will need to just to be able to do access or oversight for the jails.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone have anything further? Alderwoman Saunier?
I know one of the questions that I had was about the conflict of interest. So this may be for Reverend Gray since you're the chair. So I think, well, to me, what you said is very interesting that, you know, all of this has been, first of all, I want to thank Alderwoman Clark Hubbard and everyone else who has come before us and helped work on this important legislation. I really want to say, getting to be in this seat, I've gotten to see, be a part of several meetings and see Alderman Aldridge and see Alderwoman Clark Hubbard really work together in a collaborative way to get down to, like, you know, how can we improve this and how can we make this work? And so I really want to first just thank those who came before myself and started this work, including you, Mama Jamala. And then secondly, I want to commend you, Alderman Aldridge, for your strong show of leadership. You saw, you know, that the community had a concern, that issues were being raised, and then you went about it of starting conversations, but I've seen you have communications with the administration, with Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, and really trying to address the issue with just a lovely example of leadership. So I want to thank you for that and for all of the work that you've put into this, because I know it's not easy for any of us, and then especially to the members of the DFOB. I was on the board of education, and it was also a volunteer role, and so the fact that you all are here right now at 3:06 p.m. and I know there's many other places that you could be and you don't get paid for this work, shows your passion and shows your commitment. And, you know, for anybody at home who may be watching, I in a sense, want to apologize for us needing to do some things better as a city, period. I think we've known that for a long time. It's not even necessarily about, it's about these systems don't work. They're not set up to work. And so we're trying to set up new processes to address these things that are systematic. And I know that it's a lot for things that have happened in the jail, for people who are volunteering, for my colleagues. It's a lot. It's a tough issue to talk about. And so I'm glad we're here. My question was for Reverend Gray. In regards to conflict of interest, I thought it was really interesting what you mentioned about, you know, when original vetting was happening, none of these flags were kind of raised. None of these things came up. So my question is about the conflict of interest. When all of those members were starting to be appointed, was there any concerns from anybody involved? Was, even if it was just a statement, if it was just, we'll need to look into this more, and if not, then when did you notice those flags and those concerns starting to come about conflict of interest for members who are serving?
I think it was the letter that we received, and I want to go back. I do understand that our charter may require the city attorney's involvement as much as it is. I think that's one of the things that I'm sure all of you will look at. How does the charter reflect the involvement of the city attorney as relates to our board. And that may mean is that we can't get rid of that the city attorney has to be there. When we first wrote this ordinance, and I'm glad to see one of the lawyers here that was part of that, Lou, when we first wrote it, and I was part of it, I was part of the discussion. It came out of the Corrections Task Force. And we got the model from a oversight board in New Jersey. That's where we got the model from. But as Mother Jamala said, we realized it wasn't new. In that particular model, the conflict with the city attorney in New Jersey didn't even exist. And when we started writing this, there did not seem to be any conflict. And we had a representative from the city attorney's office involved in the discussion and the development of this ordinance from day one. We had that involvement. We did not experience the pushback from the city attorney until after we started questioning the access, when we started questioning access, when we started asking the Commissioner of Corrections for information. For example, the 86 recommendations that came out of the Corrections Task Force that Ms. Walker and I were on. When we started asking, the first question we asked, could you give us an update on the 86 recommendations and what has been accomplished during your term? That was our first question. And we caught the devil. We got the city attorney's office told us that we were asking for too much and that she was busy. The commissioner herself told us, well, the information you're looking for, you can look it up online. It's on our website. That's the response we got. Part of it was, well, some of the 86 recommendations, it involves another department. And the people that were asking the questions, with the exception of Ms. Walker, because she was asking a lot of the health questions, one person in particular became a target. One board member became a target, Mike Milton. He became a target. And so, because he was probably the most vocal between him and Ms. Walker, they were the most vocal. And then Janice. We've got vocal people, but they were only asking for information that we felt we could be asking for based upon the ordinance. And so that's when we started getting more, I wish I could tell you how many letters from the city attorney I have in my bag right now about this stack since I can't talk about it because it's attorney-client privilege stamped all on it. So I can't talk about it. Let me tell you the last thing, the other reason that I mentioned, the last example of the conflict is when we asked for the last letter, the 7-page response.
Oh, that was on training.
So we asked for an opinion on training, and we got back a 7-page plus, it's about 20-some pages of case law. And the thing that bothered us, Alderwoman, was we didn't receive our response until the afternoon of our meeting. No, let me rephrase that. The response was sent to the deputy commissioner, not even to the board members. And then when we asked about the response, Alderwoman, we were told that the response could only be sent to those of us who have signed the letter of confidentiality and gone through the class, which is only 4 of us at the time. But it wasn't even sent to the 4 of us, including the chair. The surprising thing was in the meeting with the representative from the city attorney's office said, well, we can't send it to you because you didn't sign the non-disclosure form, but I'll read it to you. Well, if you can read it to me, you can send it to me. And this is with people who have not signed the non-disclosure. See, that's the stuff that we're trying to understand. One minute you want to use the law, the other minute you forgot the law, and you're going to do it any way you want to do it. That's what we don't get. And so if you're really going to represent us, then represent us. But how can you represent the city, the Commissioner for Corrections, the Director of Public Safety, the Personnel Director, and the DFOB? How can one person represent all five without there being a conflict of interest? I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not stupid. And nobody on the board is stupid, and none of the staff are stupid. And so every letter that we get is it's just too much. It makes no sense. And at the end of the day, if you're my lawyer, you're not explaining it clearly enough, like a fourth grader can understand. Just explain it to me like a fourth grader. We're not getting any of that. Nothing. You're not representing DFOB. You represent the city. We understand it. We submit to that. Then let that happen. But don't play the game. Don't try to hide behind charter and ordinance and all of that. Say what it is. You're afraid of litigation. Say that. I'm sorry. Again, thank you for that short question.
No, that's okay. That was helpful context.
Okay.
My other question may be for, I don't want to get her name wrong.
Ms. Walker?
Ms. Walker. Ms. Walker. Yes. So you mentioned I think you mentioned something about board policies and access. And so I just wanted to clarify, as a board member, what has been your process with getting procedures and policies that are taking place in jail? And have you at any point been able to view that or see that, or just how has your access with what is supposed to be happening and what's outlined, how has your experiences been with getting that information?
We have not been able to conduct any level of investigation, and in fact, the Director of Public Safety staff, they cannot share any information with us as concerns complaints or any investigations that they have ongoing. They cannot share it with us.
So specifically, like the policies and procedures that outline, there should be some policies and procedures in somewhere that outline the processes for investigations, the processes for, have you had any access to that?
We passed our own in October of 2022. One was policies and procedures for operations, and the other one was policies and procedures on investigations. And those were passed in October. We were told then in May, 7 months later, that they were null and void. And we've been waiting for them to look at it, give their input, and get them back to us. When they get them to us, we'll pass them.
Okay. And for as far as meetings go with the jail commissioner, I'm not sure if it was you or Reverend Gray, but one of you all mentioned, and I know you mentioned being told that she was too busy to contact. Do you guys have any regular scheduled, like routine meetings with the jail commissioner, or any regular routine with the administration? Or how is that process? How does that go?
We've requested almost every month that the public safety director meet with us, that the jail commissioner meet with us. We've also requested the mayor meet with us. I think the jail commissioner met with us one time. The issue that Reverend Gray talked about, I thought, well, let's start at the middle, okay? We'll ask them what they've already done from those 87 recommendations that were shared with them in 2021. And like Reverend Gray said, it was a incredibly and surprising to me hostile response. When I asked her that directly, she said she'd seen them, but she didn't read them. You would think that might be a top priority as commissioner. Then when we finally, several months later, did basically forced, because I wouldn't stop demanding it in public, a written response to those findings, whether they'd been implemented or not. We got 87 recommendations. We got 3 pages of recommendation 1, yes, and then all down the line, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes. That was the response. My favorite response was, this wasn't implemented because it said it needed immediate action. I'm still laughing about that one. So you wait 3 years, you don't have to implement it because our recommendation to take immediate action, it was so important. So, I mean, that's the kind of lack of cooperation. You know, and when you talk about the lawyer, at some point, somebody's going to sue us for not doing the job that the ordinance outlines us to do. You know, so stop hiding from lawsuits. We could actually be looking at some of these things, making corrective recommendations, or even saying that complaint's not valid. You know, we could be helping the city. That was the intent of oversight. And instead, it's Stonewall.
As far as the structure of the board, though, are there, you know, usually if you're on a board, there's we have regular public safety meetings.
Right.
We have regular meetings that are routine that you don't even have to think about unless there's nothing on the agenda. So I'm asking about, is there any regular meetings between the DFOB and the jail commissioner or anyone in any city department, like scheduled, where, okay, every 6 weeks, has that ever been in the process since you all came into existence? Just a regular channel for communication?
We have communicated to, as Ms. Walker said, in writing. We have communicated in writing, and particularly, I'm the chair, so the letter comes from me. I've asked for a meeting with the director. I got to respond. His schedule does not permit. We've asked for a meeting with the Commissioner of Corrections, and the response was, we're working on it. Those are the 2 people that those are 2 of the people that we're supposed to be collaborating with. We did get a written response from the mayor. We responded. Now, we understand we wanted the mayor to come so that we could share our concerns. We got a written response. We wanted the public safety director to come. The response was, his schedule won't permit. We requested the Commissioner of Corrections to come. We're working on it. Haven't heard anything back, not even in writing, from the Commissioner of Corrections.
When?
I can make available to you all the communication. As a matter of fact, I pulled it out today. I can make that available. I can get that to you tomorrow. Every correspondence we've had, and I wish I could say, and their response in writing, but the only response I got in writing was from Director Coyle's office, from his secretary, a one-liner. His schedule won't permit. Not that we'll work on another day, not these dates are available. His schedule won't permit. It has been recent, since the last death, that Director Coyle has called me a couple of times when there's been an incident. He has called me. I've gotten a call from a representative from the mayor's office. When there's been an incident, that person. Now, this has been since the last maybe 2 weeks. So since the mayor's letter, I've gotten a call as the chair, and I've shared the information with the board, whatever I can share. They tell me what they can tell me. I share that with the board. So over the last couple of weeks since the last death, that communication has happened, but we've asked them to come before us in a closed session just to give us an update. We haven't received a response from any of them saying that they will come even in closed session. But that's supposed to be part of the ordinance, where that's supposed to be what they do. And Alderwoman, the reality is that that's just not being done. The training, it's interesting that when we talk about interference, the police officer that did the training works in internal affairs. He told us in the training that if there is an incident, and within that incident there is a reason for the police to do an internal investigation, they don't wait until the first incident is completed until they do an investigation. And when he said that, I said, could you say that again? He said that there's no legal precedent that says that one investigation can't start while another one is going on. And what we've made very clear, Alderwoman, is that in our request to investigate, it's not to investigate anything criminal. So how could it interfere? Our job is to investigate procedure, policy, or lack thereof, protocol. That's our job. We're not criminal investigators. And so what we submit is that when you use the word interfere, again, who determines that? It cannot be determined by the public safety director. It can't. And so these are some of the issues that we're hoping can be, cleared up as Alderperson Aldridge and the rest of you review this. We support what's being submitted, but I'm hoping that's not going to be the only three things that move for. They may be the easiest three, but I hope they're not the only three, because even if we get those, that's fine, but it doesn't really solve the whole problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Ryan. I yield.
I'm sorry.
All right, I think that is all of the comments. So I from previous discussion, I know that you don't want to hold a vote on this today.
Correct. So first, I do want to go back, and I did miss somebody to thank you, and I'm happy that Alderwoman Sonia did. I will say someone who's been very instrumental in also helping trying to get this together is also Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. So I do appreciate her leadership, even getting us to a point where we have the oversight division. But yes, not planning to have a hearing on it today. Hopefully, if members, I know we had a very healthy conversation, and I know there was even people in the audience that probably just recently seen the committee sub, so they'll be able to look over it next week as well. If there's any changes, please, committee members, I'm open to conversations on what need to be changed. Hopefully next week, the mayor administration will be in so that they also can speak, and then hopefully get it voted out in that following week.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that, and thank you everyone who came today to discuss this. Thanks for not only coming today, but for your willingness to serve on these committees. I know even at the best of times, it can be a thankless and unpaid job. So I do want to commend all of you for taking time out of your lives to try to make the city a better place for everyone, particularly some of the most vulnerable people in our population. With that, we will move to, we have no resolutions. We have no committee discussions. Is there any written testimony?
We have none.
All right. Then announcements. I think the only announcement that I have, at least, is that we will be meeting, Public Safety will be meeting next Thursday at 2 p.m. here in the Kennedy Room. I believe all members were present. Does anyone else have any announcements? All right. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. All right. The Public Safety Committee is now adjourned.